gas prices. Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will
You may not be able to feel it right now, but just know that very soon you will start to see the impact of these prices. 2 weeks ago, I was paying less than $700 for a full tank. And now, 2 weeks later, we're up to nearly 1,000, and even over 1,000 in some places. So you may not feel it now, but just know you will feel it very soon. You may not be able to feel it right now.
Miren mi gente, voy entrando a Texas y lo que me encuentro, gracias a Papi Trump, miren, 1.23, el diésel, 1.85, lo que me encontré sin escarbar mi gente. Ay.
So we'll start with this. Today's average for a gallon of regular, $3.70. It's up from $3.45 a week ago and $2.93 a month ago. Then on Friday, the markets closed in the red. Had the Dow down 119 points, the NASDAQ down 206, the S&P 500 down 40. Clearly, the markets are asking for naval escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. It's, as we've heard, not in the cards just yet. But a fifth of the world's oil supply flows through this strait. If this disruption lasts for months, can the U.S. economy absorb the shock without a recession?
First of all, it's not going to last for months. President Trump's team has briefed us that it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, beginning 2 weeks ago, and that we're ahead of schedule. And so, second, if it did last for a long time, it wouldn't really do a lot of harm to the U.S. economy. Now, certainly, there'd be pocketbook issues that we'd have to address.
So we'll start with this. Today's average for a gallon of regular, $3.70. It's up from
So yesterday, I decided to do that instead of sending, hey everybody, Tim Burchett just filled up the dually with diesel yesterday. I decided to do that instead of sending my daughter to school next year. But the reality is, I mean, they're ripping us off. Diesel is like the second cut they take off it when it comes out of the ground. It goes kerosene and diesel, and then gasoline, and diesel is the most expensive. And I'm sure they can make some sort of, they'll bring out the economic experts, to cover themselves on that. Another thing that really ticks me off about it is that they've, when the price of oil, like they say, well, it's, you know, this whatever happens overseas is causing this to happen. But then when you go to the hardware store or the auto parts store and you buy a quart of oil, guess what? The price hasn't gone up. The price of the gasoline in the tank is going up, and that's gasoline that is probably months from it was in the ground, and then it was converted into gasoline at a refinery. So the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's greed, and you know, eventually we're going to come to a point in technology, say coal, turning coal into oil and gasoline, as the Germans did during the Second World War, But guess what? The technology hasn't advanced since then. It's still cheaper just to get oil out of the ground than to convert coal, which we have a lot of. And how much oil does America?
The obvious point there is, not turning coal into gasoline, it's turning sunlight and wind into fuel. But Tim Burchett doesn't want to say that because he's a right-wing MAGA nut job, and any clean energy is bad energy for the right wing. So he's being disingenuous. While he is being genuine, there's price gouging, but it's not just price gouging. It's the Strait of Hormuz and Trump's war in Iran that's increasing prices. But Tim Burchett, again, can't admit to that because that would make, his infallible orange God leader seem like he made a mistake, which they could never admit because they're above admitting they made mistakes.
America get from Iran? Zero. That's how much. This is a scam, and these oil companies, shame on them, they're using this opportunity to make record profits once again.
So it's not a scam, it's capitalism, it's the markets. American companies are not nationalized, the fuel companies, so they don't have to keep the fuel in the US. They're going to send the fuel to the highest bidder. If Europe's paying 5 cents more a barrel than the US, guess what? That barrel goes to Europe. And that's what's happening. The markets are dictating where the oil goes. It's not nationalized like Venezuela. In Venezuela, at one point, a friend of mine from there told me, this is back when Chavez ran the country and nationalized the oil. And I'm not saying this is the best way to go, but he said gas was virtually free then. You could just pull up to the pumps, fill your tank, and drive away because it was nationalized. And the country was making tons of money off of selling their fuel. But here, it's all owned by corporations, even though the fuel in the ground is arguably owned by all of us as Americans. The government sells it to corporations for, a very, 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 very low price, and the corporations buy it and sell it for a very, very high price to the highest bidder. It's basically what happens.
So, so you got to ask yourself, even if we were getting it, what about the stuff that's already in the pipeline, that's already been paid for, the gasoline that's in the tank at your neighborhood filling station? How does it go up exponentially when something happens overseas? It's a scam. Gasoline goes up like a rocket and comes down with a parachute and it never gets back down to where it should be. Technology, all that technology in the world, we're going to eventually figure out how to crack that hydrogen molecule and run our cars off of water, I think. I don't care what the scientists tell you right now. They tell you all this stuff. Well, the man couldn't run a 4-minute mile, can't go 100 miles an hour in an automobile, you can't breathe. We're not going to go to the moon. Tim Burchett's not going to get elected to Congress. You hear all those things. Guess what? They happened. Anyway, thank y'all for sending me here. Pray for
Tim Burchett's not going to get elected to Congress. Tim Burchett's an idiot. Scientists don't say that. They don't say we're never going to go to the moon. They just say it's not going to happen anytime soon. And scientists have been trying to crack the hydrogen atom forever. And the car does run off of hydrogen right now. Cars do, but it's expensive and you need huge tanks and it just isn't convenient. But you know what cars do run off of now? That the Republicans basically put a stop to is sunlight, solar power, electricity. Okay guys, thanks for watching and I will see you on the next live stream.